Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Glad everyone's here and hope you're having a good week. It's been raining here for the last couple of days in Maine, really cloudy and getting cold at night, down in the low 40s and high 30s, but everybody's decorating for Halloween. I actually got some Halloween decorations outside on my front door. I got this big skeleton, not a skeleton, but a scarecrow. I got it at Walmart, and it's like 6 feet tall, and it hangs like that. And when you shake the door, or it senses sound, it goes ooh, hoo, 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 So it's nice. I mean, I like it and everything. I'd like to put out more, but right now I'm still unpacking and putting things in place. So I got enough to do without adding more to that. So that's my Halloween decoration for this year. Next year it'll be more. I'll probably drag out my Michael Myers mannequin there. I haven't even unpacked that yet, but anyway, love Halloween. It's a good holiday for adults. It used to be Christmas, but when you're a kid, Christmas is the thing. But now it's Halloween. So everyone knows Jimmy Kimmel's back on the air. Kind of surprised, actually. I didn't think he'd be able to, because Colbert wasn't able to get back. But like I said, I mean, just because you take these people off their shows or cancel their shows, it doesn't mean that they have to shut up. As a private citizen, they can go and say whatever the hell they want, and since they're already popular, all they got to do is, get out there and say something, and it becomes viral. So it doesn't, doing this shit here, getting the FCC chairman to fire this person and that person because they said something that, Trump didn't like or somebody didn't like. It's really ridiculous. I mean, it's like trying to boycott an oil company by not putting gas in your car. Okay, you're not going to get anywhere with that. So I'm hoping that people in the government there in the Trump administration have figured that out. That it's like, look, if we pull these people, everyone's going to boycott that channel and that company, and they're going to want to put them back. You can't win that. Okay, you just can't win. What you can do is turn off the fucking TV if you don't like what they're saying, and don't watch. If you know Jimmy Kimmel is liberal leaning, then that should be a flag to any conservative out there. You don't want to watch them because they're going to say something. You're going to get pissed off. And even Donald Trump, look, if you don't like to hear people talk bad about you, don't turn on the fucking TV. Watch something else. But I guess simple solutions evade simple-minded people, and that's the world we live in now. So today, Trump was telling his agencies to draft mass firing plans ahead of the government shutdown. So he just wants to get rid of people. I mean, it doesn't sound like he really cares about the shutdown, but it sounds like he's going to use the shutdown as a excuse to get rid of government employees and ostensibly their jobs that they hold. They want to get rid of those jobs, so that way there's no, there won't be a job for anyone to go back to. Isn't this sort of like convoluted Doge, plan here that somehow this is a way Doge is still getting rid of jobs in our government by let's have a government shutdown, and when we fire these people, we can take away their jobs. They crippled the government already with what they've done earlier this year. So what the hell more do they need to shut down? Look, they already discovered there is no fucking frivolous spending going on, okay? They did not look in the areas where there is frivolous spending, okay, like the military, but they went ahead and looked at everything else, and they chipped away at things like, that weren't even a problem, okay? Which means that these companies were working in the budget. They were working in their means. And there was no need for Doge to go in there and shut down things like they did, okay? Common sense and logic would have told them that, okay? And the numbers. But no, they wanted to appease Trump. Kissing Trump's ass was more important than saving people's jobs, okay? This is the administration that's been put into DC right now. I mean, you can call it whatever the hell you want, but you can't call it American, because it sure as hell ain't. It doesn't represent America. Now, Kristi Noem was asked about something Stephen Miller had said, and she wouldn't answer the fucking question. And this reporter from CNN, Caitlin Collins, she asked her if she thinks that Democrats are domestic extremist organization, which is what Stephen Miller called them, okay? And she got stone-faced, wouldn't say anything. She just wouldn't answer the question. I don't blame her, okay? She opens her mouth and backs up what this fucking guy says, she's going to go down in flames with him. Okay, the problem is that this is all stemming from, what happened with Charlie Kirk. Okay, that's what this is about. And Stephen Miller made that stupid remark, in the wake of that. Okay, trying to call all Democrats extremists, terrorists. Okay, well, here's the thing. They came out later, if you recall, and told, people in the country, we have to tone down, the violent rhetoric in this country. We have to dial it back, because that's what creates these things, these disasters, these tragedies, okay? Well, if you're going to go out and call half the country a terrorist, they're all terrorists, what do you think? Does that tone down anything? Of course not. You're just making people more pissed. But here's the thing. The man that killed Charlie Kirk wasn't even Democrat. He was a conservative. And he was on the far right, part of MAGA. Okay? He loved Trump. He wanted to be Trump. Christ, he dressed as Trump for Halloween. Okay, this was one of their own. And yet, they want to shift, the narrative and say, no, Democrats are evil. They're trying to come after us. They're trying to hurt us and kill us. No. It's your guys. You're the ones, okay? Look at your own facts. You can't even say that those facts are false. Instead, you just want to, pretend that they don't exist and then just say something else. I mean, that's what Trump has taught you how to do. Don't acknowledge the facts. Just tell your story, tell your lie, and go with that. Okay? Eventually, maybe somebody will believe it. Who knows? But certainly don't go with the facts. God help you. I hate to, in this day and age, if I had to go to trial on anything, I would not want American jurors. Okay, these people are going to be like, the sound of a phone off the hook. These people aren't going to be able to recognize facts when they see them. Okay, they're going to believe the lies. They're going to believe anything it's sad because a lot of people these days go to court and stuff, and they're going to get some bad fucking rulings because we have people in this country who cannot use their brain or common sense or even recognize facts and truth when they see it and hear it. They can't, because our political system has poisoned the thinking in this country to a really low fucking level here. I mean, it's insane what this is, what's happened here. Representative Thomas Massey, he's a Republican from Kentucky, said that House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republican heads are in a panic mode, he said. they've been going around threatening supporters of his bill that he wants to get passed to have the documents about Jeffrey Epstein released. And you know, people are getting pissed off that this is still, you know, that's still the conversation here. He said, quote, "They came back and tried to get the four of us to take our names off the petition. Then they asked some of my colleagues who are co-signers, and they actually threatened them politically, not physically," unquote. Okay. And just to note, some of the supporters of this bill, okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene is one, Lauren Boebert's another, okay, Nancy Mace, you know, the Bores of goddamn our government here, they back the legislation. You know, when those three Nimrods come together to back something, it sours the pot, okay? It really does, okay? I couldn't, as a Democrat, ever, you know, join forces with the likes of them. But Massey believes he can force a vote on the Epstein legislation thanks to the Democrat Adelita Grijalua, who won a special election in Arizona here recently. Plus, he's got support from all the Democrats for this thing. So, you know, that's a lot of nervous tension there about this thing here, obviously from the right, who are trying to keep this story off the headlines. They're talking about everything else around it. Government shutdown. What do you think that's all really about? Okay, another attempt at distraction to get everybody thinking about that. You know, whatever the hell Trump is hiding, it's got to be bad. It's got to really be bad. And we know the government must have just about all the details about it, because if they didn't, he wouldn't be trying so hard to keep it off the fucking pages, right? So I really think that he got messed up in something bad hanging around with Epstein, and it has to do with those underage girls. I don't know what the hell. What did he do? He maybe got one of them drugged and they died or something. I mean, I don't know. You know, the harder a person fights to keep the truth from people is more incriminating than saying I didn't do it. Okay, really. Okay, here, let me read this here. Okay. Remember, Trump's been going around saying, telling people, don't take Tylenol. Okay, well, here's the thing about this. It's from the Times. Entitled, "Scientists Behind Trump's Tylenol Claims Was Paid $150,000 to Give Evidence Against Drug Maker." The Harvard academic Andrea Baccarelli gave an unreliable testimony on the links between autism and paracetamol, and produced research that raises serious concerns about this. This was written by Samuel Lovett from in New York, published this week here. President Trump's claim that pregnant women can give babies autism by using Tylenol is partly based on a study by a scientist who was previously paid $150,000 to give expert evidence in a claim against the drug's manufacturers. Last month, Dr. Andrea Baccarelli, a senior public health academic at Harvard University, co-authored a review that linked acetaminophen, the active ingredient used in Tylenol, to autism, and warned that pregnant women should, quote-unquote, limit their consumption of that drug. During a press conference on Monday, Dr. Marty Makary, commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, cited Baccarelli's study, along with two others, as justification for officially advising pregnant women against taking Tylenol. Makary said Baccarelli's review found the overwhelming body of evidence points to an association, and quoted the Harvard academic directly as saying, quote, "We cannot wait any longer," unquote. But in the summer of 2023, Baccarelli served as an expert witness during a class action lawsuit against Kenvue, the maker of Tylenol, A group of parents filed a suit in 2022 with the New York federal court alleging their children's autism and ADHD was a result of parental use of acetaminophen, sorry, which is called paracetamol outside North America. According to a court deposition in August of 2023, Baccarelli said he had made, quote, about $150,000 as an expert witness in the case. Baccarelli, who is the dean of Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health and specializes in how environmental exposures affect human health, did not respond to a request for comment. A Harvard spokesman said the Baccarelli had disclosed his role as an expert witness against Tylenol in his paper. The complaints in the case engaged 5 experts, including Baccarelli, to testify in their case. But in December of 2023, their testimonies were dismissed by a federal judge, Denise Cody, who found their views to be unreliable. And that's a quote, unreliable. Of Baccarelli's testimony, Cody said, quote, the discussion in his reports is incomplete, unbalanced, and at times misleading. In general, Dr. Baccarelli downplays those studies that undercut his causation thesis and emphasizes those that align with his thesis, unquote. Cody said all 5 of the experts who testified in the unsuccessful lawsuit against Kenvu have, quote, not served to enlighten but to obfuscate the weakness of the evidence on which they purport to rely and the contradictions in the research, unquote. A source familiar with the case added that Baccarelli's expert testimony was later, quote unquote, repackaged as the study that he co-published last month. The source shared an independent academic review of Baccarelli's original research that urged him and his co-authors to, quote, temper language, unquote, when inferring that parental exposure to acetaminophen causes autism. The report concluded that there was an quote-unquote association between the two rather than a casual link. Baccarelli's finding that there is an association between acetaminophen and autism has also been criticized by members of the scientific community. Professor David Mandel, Associate Director for the Center for Autism Research at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, said Baccarelli's methodology did not provide a, quote, rigorous review of evidence, unquote. He added that one of the studies examined by Baccarelli's paper explored the autism-acetaminophen link without providing any measure of autism symptoms. Quote, the statements in the discussion suggesting that the link is strong rather than somewhat equivocal, combined with the unorthodox methods, raise serious concerns about bias, unquote, he told the Times. In a statement shared by the White House on Monday, Baccarelli said he had discussed his scientific findings and the recommendation not to take Tylenol during pregnancy with the Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's not even a fucking doctor. And the National Institutes of Health, adding he appreciated, quote, their interest in this study, unquote. Yeah, I bet he is. Some studies have shown a link between pregnant women taking Tylenol and autism, but scientists say these findings are inconsistent and inconclusive. For example, a study last year funded by the United States government investigated about 2.5 million Swedish children and found some evidence that acetaminophen had used during pregnancy causes autism, ADHD, or other intellectual disabilities, but this association disappeared when the scientists compared one sibling who had been exposed with another who had not. The study, which is the largest of its kind, concluded that environmental and other health factors rather than just the drug itself may be responsible. Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, a U.S. nonprofit organization, said that Baccarelli's review included several studies that were not as comprehensive or thorough as the Swedish study, and that some of the papers included in his research, quote, had biased weighting systems that include parental recall of Tylenol use over hard data, unquote. Members of the Coalition for Autism Scientists, a group of more than 250 American researchers, added that studies assessing whether acetaminophen causes autism were, quote-unquote difficult to conduct. Quote, it is highly irresponsible and potentially dangerous to claim links between potential exposures and autism when the science is far more nuanced and uncertain, unquote, the coalition said this month. In response to Monday's press conference, the coalition said the government's announcement, quote, alarms us researchers who committed our entire careers to better understanding autism. The data cited does not support the claim that Tylenol causes autism, and only stokes fear and falsely suggests hope when there is no simple answer, unquote. Autism diagnosis in the U.S. have increased sharply since the year 2000, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Scientists partly attributed this rise to an increased awareness of autism and an expanding definition of the disorder. Researchers have also been investigating environmental factors. So, despite Trump going around and saying for certain, stay away from dolls, okay, he's like the person that reads the headline to a story but doesn't bother to read the rest, okay? And that's what a lot of people in this country do when they read the news. They read the headline and they go with the headline as that's telling me everything, okay? No, and it's a bad habit to get into, okay? Just because a headline, seems to like say exactly what's going to be written in the column, it's not. It's just a headline, a title to that's what's being printed out. You got to read everything. But Trump's been going around telling people not to take Tylenol, okay, and saying that that's connected to autism, and then idiots go to JFK Jr. there, or Robert RFK Jr. Excuse me, to consult with him. What the fuck does he know about any of that shit? Okay, I'm sorry, but he's not a doctor. He's a fucking lawyer. That's I'm sorry. He's the last person you need to ask about stuff like that. Okay, actually go to a doctor or a scientist that studies these kind of things, and you'll probably get a much more enlightened answer than anything that those clowns are going to tell you. So I like I said, like I said, this is crazy. This is the kind of shit you get whenever you're dealing with Trump. Okay, he's good for stirring the pot. Doomsday is around the corner. He exaggerates everything. He tells you, half truths and sometimes just right out lies. And too many people in this country just go with it. They just go with it. They don't care about the details and the stuff that he's trying to tell you. They don't care about that. Okay? Because too many people who support Trump are also of the mind that, they look at him as and they frame him in some way of faith, like, we trust him. We know he's going to lead us down a merry path, when he hasn't done any of that ever. Okay, just ask all the people that used to work for him whether he's the kind of God that's going to lead you down a merry path. I'm sorry, but nobody's going to ever actually stand up and say they had a good association with this guy. He doesn't. These people just don't exist. So why anybody would want to take what he says, in a press conference about Tylenol and say, okay, we can't go buy Tylenol. Don't do that. Remember what he was telling people during the first time he was, when he was president, about during COVID, injecting bleach and stuff. Somebody actually went and listened to him, done that, and died. Okay? It's sad that people can be so blinded politically and follow somebody like it's a cult, and have that person do a what's his name, Jim Jones or something, have them drink Kool-Aid, and they're going to drink it. You would think people would have woke up, about that and learned their lesson. Just don't blindly follow anybody because they say they're, they know everything or something, or they're a religious whatever, deity or whatever, or a prophet. Don't do this. Okay? How many times has it got to happen? How many times people have to be fooled by these folks before they wake up and say, "Oh, you know what? He sounds just like this other fellow, and look what happened to them." Not going to listen to this guy. Learn from that. Learn to do that. That's how you create a bullshit filter. Is when you hear, certain things, when you see a pattern in things that you can recognize and say, aha, I remember somebody doing this not that long ago, and look what happened. Well, Trump does this, and he keeps doing it. Even when they catch him in a lie, he keeps doing it. Patterns. Okay? Don't believe him. Don't trust him. Not everybody in this world is out for your best interest, and I know everyone would agree with me with that. Okay? That's not bullshit. I mean, Republicans themselves are at war with the world, it seems. I mean, they want everything their way, and they don't give a shit how it would upend, the balance of things if they got everything their way. They don't care. And it's like, this isn't just your world. Other people are living in it too. Okay? And you can't be the minority forcing everybody to your will. That's just not the way it works. People have tried in the past to force their will on others, and it always backfired and got them, in some bad fucking problems. Okay? People you can't do that. You just can't. You have to live your life, okay, the way you see fit, okay, and let other people live theirs. They're the ones that'll have to answer to whatever they do, not you. So why do you care? Someone's out there committing crimes or something like that, that's not you, that's them. When they get caught and all that stuff, you don't take and shoulder that fucking burden. That's not even your burden. It's not even your fault. You don't have to do a damn thing about that. Not a thing. It's not your fucking purview. Okay? You let these people do what they want. Okay? If it affects you, then that's different. If what they do is affecting you personally, that's different. But if it isn't, if people are doing things in their homes and stuff that you don't even really know what they're doing, and it's not affecting you, then you have no right to open your yap. You don't. I'm sorry, you just don't. Even if you live in an apartment with these people, what's going on their side of the fucking walls is their business. That's the way it works. And I had a police officer tell me that a long time ago. This is just the way it works, because we have to have this live and let live philosophy, or we're just at each other's throats, morning, noon, and night. So anyway, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, share, and I will talk to you guys again later. So take care. Bye.